Okay, so we're going to do some work with the chair this morning, just so that you can just to kind of assist particular kind of shapes and postures. So sit yourself on your lift to start off with, or you can just sit directly on your chair if you want, but I think everyone here is fine with sitting directly on the floor. So just have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you feel evenly placed underneath the seat bones. Hold onto your knees and then lift up into the chest. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. So sometimes first thing in the morning, the spine can feel a little kind of stiff, a little reluctant to move. So just a few. Let's just round the back. Just make a rounded shape with your back. Just drop in the front chest, and then lift the chest upwards. So just a couple of times, just rounding your back, just to bring that little bit of additional movement. So rounding the back and then raising up, just very gently, not kind of cracking any bones or anything. We're not trying to come forward. We're just trying to move the spine a little, and then bring your shoulders down away from your ears. Work to lift the sternum bone upwards. Hold onto your knees and look down at the floor. Look at something that doesn't move. Listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then close your eyes, holding onto your knees. Close your eyes, just listen to the breath. Take consciously deep inhalations and let go with the out breath. Release your knees, draw your hands into Namaste. Just lengthen from the armpits into the elbows, from the elbows into the heels of the hands, into the fingertips. Just working to take deep inhalations, filling the lungs completely. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in your heart area, and then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees. Just lift your chest and open your eyes, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just hold on to your knees, lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards, take a deep inhalation in through the nose, and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, shoulders across. Using your in-breath to really fill the lungs, and using the out-breath to turn the spine. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across. And then come back to the center. Just hold up, just come off your lift and then come down onto your knees, down into Adho Mukha Virasana. So just sitting back on your heels, lift and open the chest, and then come forward, maintaining that connection between the seat bones and your heels. Just feeling how stretching forwards gives you a stretch of the spine. Spread your fingers, spread the palms, and then bring your head down. If you lose contact between the seat bones and the heels, when you bring your head down, then try just bringing your hands a bit closer to the body and then stretching the arms away, or put a block underneath your head. Just breathe evenly and deeply lengthening out the spine. So sometimes we just wake up with not a painful back, just one that needs stretching out. So Adho Mukha Virasana is a really good way to just stretch out the kinks in the spine. Turn the tailbone inwards, try and keep the seat bones down on the heels, and stretch into the arms, lengthening the armpits, squeezing the outer elbows inwards, letting there be pressure on the forehead, pressing the forehead into the floor or into the blocks. Just come up onto your knees, have your little fingers on the edge of the mat, stretch your thumbs towards each other, turn your toes under, have your feet as wide apart as the mat, and then come up, bending your knees up into dog down, bending your knees, lifting the seat bones up to the ceiling, just feeling the stretch at the back of the legs, and then just come into dog down. Lifting the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs, pushing the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees, hitting the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. So you lengthen into the spine. Just breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the breath. and step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position. Just get your chair and just have your chair so that the back of the chair is facing away from you, but you're going to be able to reach it with your hands. So just have the chair in front of you. So we're going to use this instead of the blocks for parsvottanasana, and then we're going to use it for parsvottanasana. So just make sure that when you come forward, your hands are just going to be able to reach the back of the chair. So have the chair nearby, have your feet as wide apart as your mat, turning your toes inwards. So the outside edge of the feet line up with the edge of the mat. Have your hands on your hips, and then again just work to really activate the legs, tightening the kneecaps and lift the chest. And then hinge at the hips, but keep the head lifted, keep driving forwards with the chin. Come forwards gently, slowly. And then just bring your hands onto the seat of the chair. And then walk your hands towards the back of the chair so that the body comes kind of parallel to the floor, the upper body parallel to the floor. Push the outer edge of your hands on the back of your chair and lift and open your chest, activating the kneecaps, driving the kneecaps into the sockets, lifting the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. So think about that cat and cow pose. So the cat pose is where you tuck the tailbone in, draw the chin in towards the chest. And the cow pose, so just do that. So tuck the tailbone in, draw the chin towards the chest. And then do the cow, where you lift the seat bones, lift the tailbone up towards the ceiling, and you lift the front chest. And this is the shape that we want for parsvottanasana. Push the hands down onto the back of the chair firmly. Lift up into the chest. Lifting the seat bones, activating the legs. And then maybe see if you can find the seat of the chair. Now that might bring you up higher than you were before. So use the legs of the chair if you can come down lower. So just holding onto the legs of the chair. And then just coming down a little bit at a time, but only go to the stage where it feels comfortable. So again, cow posing, the seat bones, lifting the tailbone up towards the ceiling, lifting the front chest forwards. Maybe you can come all the way down to the floor, but that's not important. Just stay at the stage where you feel supported, where there is enough space for you to lift the seat bones, to lift the chest. Okay, come back just with the hands on the seat of the chair, your hands into your hips, and then come up into a standing position. And then just put your chair on the right side of your mat. And then just be in Tadasana, just be in the center of your mat. So just because of the way my ceiling is, I can't always be in the center of my mat. I'm just gonna, I'll kind of be, you know, if you start here, then when you jump your feet apart, you know, you're gonna be, you'll be in the right place. So you got the chair on the right hand side, just lift up into the chest. Bring your arms out nice and wide, in towards the chest, and then step or jump your feet apart. So turn your left toes in and your right leg and foot all the way out, and then release your hands, and then bring the chair just close so that you can, this bolster is in the way. So the chair is kind of next to your shin, and then come back up. Just have your hands on your hips for a moment, lift up into the chest. So feel that you can lengthen from the hips down into the feet, and from the feet up into the hips, up into the chest. Keep your left hand on your hip and then reach down, and just reach down and find the seat of the chair. So this is probably much higher than you would normally come, but actually it's a useful way to just kind of work our way into the pose. So at this stage, bring the heel of the hand onto the chair, push into the heel into the seat of the chair, and then lift from the heel of the hand up into the armpit and turn the chest. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling. Spread your toes, lift from the feet into the heels, into the hips, into the chest. Now, if you want to, you can go down a little lower, again, using the chair leg, but keep that chest turning. So the chair just gives us that extra level of support so that we can really focus on turning the abdomen from the right to the left. If you can find the shin, then find the shin, but use the leg like you were using the seat of the chair. Press down onto the shin. Try not to press into your knee. Press down onto the shin and turn, or just stay with the chair. And then reach up. And then reach up, come back to the center. Just bring the feet parallel. And then step or jump your feet back together. Just be in Tadasana. So although we normally do these poses without a chair, the chair just gives us something kind of extra. Just bring the chair onto the other side. It gives us something additional that we can use to kind of feel like we're being supported. And then when the legs are supported, then we can get a kind of a deeper sense of turn in the chest. So have the inner edge of the feet together, lift up into Tadasana, and then step or jump the feet nice and wide. So be close to the chair. Turn your left toes in a little and the right leg and foot all the way out, and then bring the chest around to face the front. So we turn the abdomen and then reach down. Just see if you can find the seat of the chair with the heel of the hand. Have the fingers pointing in the same direction as the toes. And then you can turn this arm outwards, and then we can broaden the collarbone. So push down onto the seat of the chair. Lengthen from the heels into the toes, from the toes into the heels, into the shins, into the hips, up into the chest. And then begin to rotate your abdomen from the left to the right. So you can just stay here, just feeling that turn of the chest, lifting out of the legs, lifting the feet, lifting the legs out of the feet, up into the hips, up into the spine. If you want to, you can go down a little lower, just sliding that hand down the chair leg, but using that again just to turn the chest. If you can find the shin, use the shin like the chair leg, the chair top seat of the chair. I couldn't think of the word there. Pushing down into the seat of the chair, turning the chest, reaching up. So breathing evenly, deeply listening to the sounds of the breath. Turning the chest. And then reach up with the top hand, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet forwards, and then just come back into Tadasana. Just use your Tadasana just to realign the spine, lifting up into the chest. Just breathing evenly in through the nose and out through the nose. just gently release. Just have the chair at the end of your mat with the back of the chair facing you. And then come back into Tadasana. Just lift the chest, bring your arms out, and then step or jump the feet apart. And then bring your hands onto your hips. Turn your left toes in steeply, and then the right leg and foot all the way out. And then try and get the pelvis to face the back of the chair. So this back leg pelvis always gets stuck a little bit. This front leg pelvis is always a little bit kind of closer to the chair than the back leg. So pick up the heel of that back leg. So you can use the chair to help you to balance, and then turn, Tadasana-wise this leg, turn the front of the thigh inwards, turn the back of the thigh outwards, and then see if you can just bring that heel back down. Bring your hands onto your hips, and then lift up into the chest. And then hinge at the hips slightly, and then come forwards. Bring your hands onto the back of the chair. So at this stage, we can then kind of just work with the hips, just to kind of rotate that back leg, the front of the thigh, turn it in from the little toe side to the big toe side. So the back of the thigh broadens outwards. So press your hands onto the back of the chair and lift the chest. And then maybe you can just slide your hand down the chair, but keeping the chest lifted. So keeping that back leg really firm, keeping the chest lifted. So just come down a little bit at a time. So all the time, again, we're trying to get that cow action. We don't want the cat. So the cat would be this. It's the cow, turning the tailbone out, lifting the chest. And then if you can bring your hands down onto the seat of the chair, then all the better. But just work at the level that you can lift the seat bones and project the chin and the chest forwards. Keep that front leg straight, Lois, if you can. So really tighten the kneecap of that front leg. Then perhaps you can slide down the chair leg a little. Now the back of the chair might get in the way, so you can just shuffle the chair away a little. Just sliding your hands down, but keeping that tailbone lifted, keeping the front chest lifted, holding onto the chair legs. Just maybe see if you can keep reaching forwards and coming down. And then perhaps you can find the floor, but just stay at whichever stage. So if you start to feel like you round your back like this, then go back to the chair. Okay, bring your hands back onto the chair, walk your hands up to the top of the chair, and then just bend that front leg, step forwards, and then come into Tadasana, put the chair on the other side. So you can get a deeper pose just because of that, of that additional support. So we don't always need it. A lot of the time you don't need it at all, but it's useful. I mean, I can kind of go down and reach the floor and all that kind of thing, but even so, I can still feel how effective the chair is as a support mechanism. It helps you to really work your legs really deeply. So lift up into the chest, drive your chest up towards the ceiling, and then just step or jump the feet apart, nice and wide, and then turn the right toes in steeply, and then rotate on the other leg. So just reach forwards and get the back of the chair, and then pick up the heel, turn this leg all the way in, and then bring the heel down. So again, we can just use the chair just to kind of adjust the position of the hips. So just wriggle about in the hips, just feel how you can kind of move that back leg, hip forwards and back. you don't want it lower, so you don't want this front leg pelvic bone lower than the back leg pelvic bone lower than the front leg pelvic bone. We want it level. So find that levelness. It's useful using this because you can really kind of, if you've got flexible hips, you can really kind of find that full scope of movement. But then you don't want to go all the way down so that the hips are now unlevel. So bring the pelvic bone into levelness. So push your hands onto the back of the chair and then lift the chest. Turn the tailbone out, lift the front chest. And then just slide your hands down the back of the chair, keeping the front chest lifted. Maybe you find the seat of the chair with the hands. Depends on your chair, I guess. Just lift up into the chest. And then maybe you go back to the chair legs, and then you can shuffle it away a little bit so that you can start to come down. So breathe evenly. Keep the seat bones lifted, keep the pelvis level, keep the chin and the chest extending forwards. So while the chair is giving us levelness, it's giving us stability. It's giving us more than stability. It's giving us levelness. It's giving us extension. So it's a useful practice. Just find the level where you can continue to lift the tailbone and lift the chest. Breathe in deeply. Okay, bring your hands onto the back of the chair, bend that front leg, and then step yourself in. And then just come up into Tadasana. So I'm not suggesting that we always use the chair, but you can always use the chair if you need it. But it's just a useful way to, just to find the pose. Just breathe evenly and deeply listening to the breath. Okay, and then just bring the chair in front of you, but this time have the seat of the chair kind of facing away from you. So no, have the back of the chair facing away from you, the seat of the chair facing you. So we can do prasarita padottanasana. So again, you need to be able to hinge at the hips and then bring the hands onto the back of the chair, but without it feeling like it's going to fall forwards. So you don't want it too far away. You don't want it too close either. So just find where you can reach forwards. So lift up into the chest, drive the chest upwards in Tadasana. Breathing evenly. Bring your arms out nice and wide. So I went out of ceiling height a little bit here. Bend your elbows in and then step or jump your feet apart. So the heels on the back edge of your mat, and then bring the hands onto your hips, and then lift the chest, drive the chest upwards, and then hinge at the hips, and then bring your hands onto the seat of the chair. So keep your fingers pointing forwards. So just use the chair and then just feel, are you leaning forwards into putting your weight into your hands, or can you hit your legs back so that the weight is definitely in your heels? So if you can, then just reach forwards towards the back of the chair and then come into the halfway point. So stretch your arms out in front, Ian. So and then bring your hands onto the top of the seat of the chair, onto the top of the back of the chair, if you can. So reach up, bring your hands. So can you see where my hands are, Ian? On the top of the back of the chair. That's it. So then you've got that lift of the seat bones. So drive that cow shape upwards again. So lift the seat bones and project the chin and the chest forwards. So lengthen the front chest. Don't hit your legs back too far, Ian. So your legs are really slanting back, so not too much. Okay, bring your hands back onto the seat of the chair. And then if you want to go a little further, you can slide your hands a little bit down the chair, and then maybe you can find the floor. But now you've got somewhere to rest your forehead because you've got the seat of the chair. So bring the forehead down to the seat of the chair. Just have the hands on the floor. So at this stage, press the forehead into the floor. Lift those seat bones up. The more you lift the seat bones, the easier it is to straighten your back. So from there, you might feel like you can bring your head down to the floor, but maybe not. It doesn't matter. Just have your head supported on the seat of the chair. Come back to the feet, spreading the toes. Lengthen from the heels into the toes, from the toes into the heels, from the heels into the shins, into the knees, into the thighs, into the hips, into the spine. Okay, bring your hands back onto the seat of the chair, lift yourself up, and then with the hands on the seat of the chair, just step your feet in, and then just come up into a standing position, and then just back into Tadasana, lift and open the chest. So you're most familiar really with prasarita padottanasana without the chair. So just give me a little indication. Up means that made a difference. Sideways, I'm not too sure. Down means that it didn't make any difference at all. So yeah, so not sures, but or a thumbs up. So that's good. So just have the inner edge of the feet together, lift up into the chest. And then stretch your arms forwards, interlock your fingers, turn your palms all the way out, and then raise your arms up. Baddha. Take deep inhalations, deep exhalations. And then just release your arms, just swap your feet around, so swap your fingers, the interlock of the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms. And then release your arms. And then just come down onto your back, to just move the chair out of the way for a moment. Just come down onto your back for supta baddha. So one of the things about using the chair for our poses is that you still work really hard. In lots of ways, you work even harder because you've got that extra support. So then you can really address the legs with more detail, with more focus. You can address the turn of the spine. You can address the position of the hips. So, using the chair isn't making pose easier per se. It's making our balance easier, but it's given us a deeper insight into the action of the legs. So even if you don't need the chair, it's a useful approach because it gives you a new insight into the balance of the pose. And often when we're in poses and we're just focusing purely on balance, we can't really go beyond that kind of fight or flight attempt to just stay upright, to not fall over. And so when we're in that mode, then we don't really experience the pose as we could. So just put in that extra level of stability in place gives us the opportunity to feel our way into the pose without that worry of falling over. And so when we learn how to redo the pose with negating that problem of potentially falling over, then we learn how to use the legs, we learn how to use the chest. And so that when we go back to the pose without using the chair, then perhaps we go back into the pose with a greater sense of stability in the legs, in the chest, so that the chair is still there even though we're not using it, so that we go back into our poses with stronger sense of stability from the feet upwards. So just breathing evenly, deeply listening to the breath. Taking deep inhalations and deep exhalations, listening to the breath. So I was having an interesting conversation with some friends at the weekend, and one of my friends has been smoking for years and years and years, and he's just given up smoking. And well, not just given up, he's given up for about maybe nearly a year now, actually. So he's doing really, really well because he used to smoke a lot. And we were just discussing that, that he said that he still misses cigarettes because there's something about kind of taking that first drag that that kind of instantly calms them down. And then another friend who was there, who also does yoga, suggested that perhaps it wasn't the nicotine that was giving that sudden sense of calm. It was just the fact that you take a deep inhalation when you kind of have that first draw of a cigarette. You take it down deeply and you hold it in. And just that action, so just try that now. Take a deep inhalation. Don't think about cigarettes. Just take a deep inhalation and then hold it for a moment. And then release completely with the out breath. Then you get a similar feeling because it's just the deep inhalation, just the holding of that breath, and then the release of the out breath that actually does way more than just kind of gives you breath. It brings you calmness. So just breathe deeply, taking deep inhalations. Just hold on to that breath for a moment. And then let go with the out breath. So the question was, the $1 million question was, is it the nicotine that they were craving or just that additional oxygen? So I don't have the answer there, but there's an interesting question, isn't there? Just gently draw your knees together. Just pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then rock yourself up into a seated position. And then come onto your front. Just come down onto your front with your elbows underneath your shoulders. And just stretching your legs away. So just pick up the whole of the leg and then extend into the toes, into the toenails. Press the tops of the feet into the floor and then tighten your kneecaps so that the kneecaps lift off the floor. Just have your elbows underneath your shoulders and just lift and open the chest. So just a gentle back bend. It's just the crocodile, isn't it? So we're going to go into bhujangasana, where sometimes it's known as the cobra. So press the tops of the feet into the floor. Turn the legs like you're doing tadasana. So the fronts of the thighs turn in, the backs of the thighs turn out, and then draw the tailbone inwards. Bring your hands so they're underneath your shoulders. Keep the pelvis down on the floor and then lift the chest, but keep the pelvis down. You don't necessarily straighten your arms. Keep your shoulders down away from your ears. Keep tucking the tailbone in. Lift the front chest, extend up into the chin. Keep the legs really firmly activated. Shoulders down away from the ears. And then very gently release down. Just rest your head on one side, rest your arms on one side. And then allow yourself to release into the floor. So bhujangasana. So when you've recovered, just come back, bring your elbows underneath your shoulders, just bring the palms down onto the floor. So this is a really effective back bending pose, and it might be all you want to do. Just come onto your elbows, lift the chest. So, this is maybe how we used to watch Doctor Who as kids on the telly. So lengthen into the toes, lengthen the toes away, lengthen the fronts of the legs towards, turn the fronts of the legs inwards so that the backs of the thighs turn outwards, so that the heels start to part, and then draw the tailbone in, grind the tailbone down towards the floor. So you can stay there or bring your hands back so that your hands are underneath your shoulders, and then keeping the pelvis down. So remember, you don't necessarily straighten your arms, but keep the shoulders down away from the ears, lengthen into the toes, into the toenails, push the feet into the floor, lift the kneecaps away from the floor, lift the front chest up into the chin. And then gently soften, come down, rest your head on the other side, and then rest your arms just along the floor. So one of the really nice things about doing back bends is that when it stops, it's really nice, isn't it? So you can really relax. And then just sit back on your heels and then stretch forwards. And then just sit yourself up. So we're just going to use the chair one last time. So have the seat of the chair with the back of the chair facing towards me, and then just sit with your legs, with your right hip close to the back of the chair, And just find some chairs kind of like kind of slope down a little, don't they? So just see if you can find that level, or you can always just sit on a folded blanket just to kind of level things off. I'm just kind of perching on the kind of front edge of the chair a little bit. So have your feet on the floor, lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards, and then turn to face the seat of the chair. Keep the knees rotating away from the chair, the back of the chair. Lift up into the chest and then turn. So your legs need to be at the side of the chair, Ian, so that you can turn towards the back of the chair. That's it. So you can turn towards the back of the chair. So you get really good. This is one of the best ways to do spinal twists. Just sitting on the chair and then turning. Lifting the chest, keeping the shoulders level as much as you can. Okay, and then just release and come back to the center. Just swap yourself around, just sit on the other side of the chair. Just lift up into the chest and then turn to face the back of the chair. You can grip a block between your two knees, but equally you can just imagine you've got a block between the two knees and try and draw the knees away from the back of the chair as you lift and open the chest and turn the spine. So trying to draw the abdomen across towards the back of the chair. Okay, and then just gently release. Just come off the chair. Just have the chair on the floor, and then we're just going to do a gentle inversion with our legs kind of up on the chair like this. So you bring your legs onto the chair and then rest yourself down on the floor. Take your glasses off and then just let your legs sit on the seat of the chair. So you might not be able to get your whole leg on the chair, depending on your kind of height, the length of your legs, the length of your thigh bones. But just try and get as much of your leg on the chair as you can. For some, the chair isn't tall enough, so you might want to put a folded blanket underneath your legs or some blocks. But we're just using this just to soften out the back, to release the spine. Just breathe evenly and deeply listening to the sound of the breath. Taking deep inhalations and letting go with the out breath. Okay, then just bend your knees and then just slide your legs away if you can. Move the chair out of the way. without disturbing yourself too much, then do. And then just lay yourself down directly onto the floor. Just make sure you're in a good straight line. If your head rolls back, have a blanket under your head. Otherwise, just using the floor. Close your eyes. Just listen to your breath. Allow the physical body to release into the floor. And then when you're ready, just gently wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Just bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. Just a gentle massage on the spine. And then to roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Drawing the breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then very gently release the chin down to meet the chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then radiate that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel that you have really stretched yourself out, and maybe in maybe in even more intense way than you might normally achieve, because you've got the support of the chair to kind of extend more deeply. So thank you very much for joining me.